alright. What a great way to kick off the show. That's what you call a rapper, guys. Not this other female artist. As of course, Kanye is titled Ingo, Ekse, taking all the way up until 5 p.m. Good afternoon, you people of Mzansi. Thank you so much for joining us to be the source of entertainment, taking you all the way up until 5 p.m. I'm still a J, but I'm known as Ubut Flicky. Good afternoon to you two guys.
Hi, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I am great. Hope you two are lovely out there, Cape Town. As it is gloomy, but do not despair, okay? We will be entertaining you from 45, as Sinalo said. So we are bringing the sun to the gloom.
I won't get Dulaze. So happy to be back. Happy I wasn't fired yesterday. I'm here to redeem myself. It's gonna be an epic show. Please do guys interact with us on our social media. We're Ekse all across all social media platforms. Ekse. Email us. Now we have studio audience. If you wanna come and join us, interact with us live on studio. Email ekse@capetowntv.org.
Definitely, we are doing the most today for the next hour. Must say, throughout the week, we've been introducing new presenters joining the Ekse team. These guys have made it, so tell us right now on social media what you think about them.
Nice.
Right now, be nice. But right now, moving on to today's show, Namhlanje later on, we're joined by the Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sports, right here in the Western Cape, Minister Andrux Moraes. He said to us more about the strategic plan of 2015 to 2019. And of course, the annual performance plan of 2019 and 2020, where they will be working closely with 7 academies across the Western Cape.
And we also have Khadija from Sonke Gender Justice. She will be talking to us more about the very critical and important case of gender-based violence. Statistics SA released their stats last year, 2016. 1 out of 5 women experience gender-based. In a predicament where they are experiencing gender-based violence, which is very bad. However, we'll be unpacking later with her as to why and what can be done.
I'm looking forward to that chat. It's a serious one because I grew up in Khayelitsha and it's so normalized.
And it shouldn't be normal.
I feel like as long as South Africans, we've gotten to a point where we've normalized it.
I'm looking forward to that chat. And so also have Utsebo from NFSAS. I'm particularly excited for that chat because I've been rejected. I want to know why. I want a diploma. Why reject me? But anyway, right now we're going to the trending news to let you guys know what's happening in the world of entertainment and beyond.
I want that 15 million. Well, of course, it's time for trending news, everybody's favorite part of the show, where we take a look at what you guys are currently talking about on those social media streets. Abo babes, abo mampinch, abo karamina, yonke lonto EFF. I'm telling you, a lot is happening in Mzansi at this point of time. Abantu mandela uthini thixo wam. Well, on the other side, EFF seems to have a very toxic masculinity when it comes to dealing with abantu abangomama. I'm talking about Karima Brown. Well, Karima Brown, who works for the ENCA and, of course, the resident analyst, has gone under attack by economic freedom fighters and, of course, its supporters on social media for the second time within a year. Hayi Karimina mntasekhaya, hayi khonto yenza wrong. While an EFF media WhatsApp group advertised a meeting of elders, and Brown sent a message to journalists on the group by mistake. While EFF members has revealed a screenshot of her message accusing her of being a government agent, and of course which revealed her personal cell number. This incident led to Karima Brown being threatened with deaths and rape by EFF members. But Umalema went on to news to say there is absolutely no EFF member who threatened Nosis. But number yakhe namndiyibonile pha ku-tweet. I can't even phone, but I didn't call you. I didn't call you, Miss Brown. I saw your number, but I didn't call. Don't worry.
All right, moving straight on to Cape Town. Kuthiwa iYunivesithi yase-Western Cape ayifuni nix noMampintsha, and I am definitely for them. Heading on to those news, the Western Cape, the University of the Western Cape, I beg your pardon, has issued a statement to the press revealing that they have denied an application by Mampintsha's company West Inc. Records to use their stadium for an event which was which was to be held on the 4th of May 2019. This comes after the viral video of Mambinja, who can allegedly be seen physically abusing his long-term girlfriend, Ubongekile Simelane, famously known as Babes Wodumo. I am so here for the Western Cape University. Power to you, Amandla Kuni. Mandela. Vote for
I
this.
wonder again, even there's Bastanteka.
Yeah.
The event is no longer happening.
No, this is not happening, which is great because look, we can't be,
We can't keep
I know.
promoting.
give this
But
guy
I was
more
good
money.
for that event, so I'm losing again.
Oh,
20,000 rand.
I'm so sorry.
So
But it's okay. We're not supporting gender-based violence here.
big up to the UWC. As soon as NFSAS accept my request, I'm coming. And this on other news though, cops probe 4 murders inquest after Durban magistrate and the husband, 3 kids found dead. Police are investigating 4 murders and have opened an inquest docket after 5 members of the family of Moncler in Durban, including a magistrate, were found dead in their home on Wednesday. The police spokesperson Tulani Zwane told the media outside the family's home that we do not know what really happened. That is why we have opened 4 counts of murder as well as an inquest for the investigation. Earlier, Zwane confirmed that the Durban magistrate, a court interpreter, husband, as well as their 3 children aged between 9 and 17 were found dead in their home. A pistol was also found at the scene. Hopefully this pistol leads to something concrete so that we can follow and find these criminals.
Very sad news indeed. We definitely do need to tackle this thing of gender-based violence. Moving on to Court Year 2, Solidarity takes sports quota case to the Labour Court. Trade Union Solidarity said it would on Wednesday, which means it was yesterday, ask that the Labour Court in Johannesburg set aside the Sports and Recreational Ministry's Transformation Charter. It said that its application was successful. It would mean an end to the politicizing of sports and that the focus would be on developing and using the talents of all athletes and players. This application is opposed by the Minister of Sport, the South African Rugby Union, Cricket South Africa, Athletics South Africa, and Netball South Africa. Solidarity said the application was part of the union and its sister organization, AfriForum's joint campaign against applying quotas in sport. Solidarity Deputy Chief Operations Officer Werner Human said, if approved, the Transformation Charter would give Sports Minister Thokozile Xasa almost unlimited power over sports. I wonder if that is good or bad, but we'll get to see.
I think I don't know. Let's not touch on that one.
Yeah.
But right now, that's all we have when it comes to trending news. Right now, take a quick breather. When we return, lots of entertainment, lots of information. Apha ku Ekse, ungayi Welcome back kusabule Ekse right here on Cape Town TV. Sithathe sikubeke insimbi yesihlanu kamlam Stella J Putfliki and joined by Siyasanga. Absolutely amazing show we're having at the moment. Welcome guys, today we're talking about sports, we're talking about domestic abuse, we're talking about NSFAS Imali. So make sure you engage with us right now on our social media platforms. And also we have an audience who will be asking questions to our guests right here on the show. So to make sure you also raise your voice if you want to ask something. Right now we're joined by Minister Andruma Ray. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. It's wonderful to be with you.
It's a pleasure. It's not an everyday thing where we have very important people like you, we have politicians on the show. And when we do, we really want to tackle, we really want to go deep into the problems that we're facing as South Africa. I want to talk about the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport. What are you guys mandated to do in the Western Cape?
Our mandate in the Western Cape is to how can I put it, do have a social inclusive, and I want to expand on that, not only inclusive society, also integrated society with all our people, a connected Western Cape as well as an active Western Cape, and also to make the Western Cape the sporting and culture destination, not only of South Africa but also of the world. And I must mention now that we've only heard this morning that we've won the bid for the Netball 2023 World Cup.
Wow.
And it's such an amazing event, and we're so happy because it was all, we've been up against New Zealand.
Yeah,
All right, Minister, I'm more interested in the Provincial Strategic Plan 2015-2019.
Yeah.
I have no idea about it, and for someone who has no idea like me, what is it? What are the projects? What are the programs that you guys are doing, if ever there's such in the thing?
Yeah, we do have, our strategic plan is, as I've said, we want to have a wealthy, connected, social inclusive communities. And we have programs not only in sport but also in our culture affairs. And that is the museums, libraries, but we're not talking about an heritage, but we're not talking about that today. It's only sport. And we have programs like our mod centers, that's our after-school programs. We've got club development programs. All the sporting codes have programs. And what we also do is the farm worker program.
Oh wow, farm workers.
Farm workers.
That is
and
very
we're very
nice.
proud of what we've achieved and what the community's achieved. And the whole thing is that we want community involvement. It's not about us and what us as the Department of Cultural Affairs or the government of the day wants to do. It's what they want.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always communication between us for all our programs. And that's just in short, you know.
You just mentioned it's also about what the community wants. It's always about the relationship between the department and the communities. As much as there are programs that you guys run across the Western Cape, after school, the farmers program, we can't ignore the fact that there's high rates of crime amongst young people, there's high rates of drug abuse among young people. How are you guys, what are you doing as a department to attract more young people into the side of sport and cultural activities?
What we do is we go out, we do have structured programs throughout the province. We do have our 6 districts with our officials that going out to the communities with the programs, introducing them to the programs. The one program that we've got is the Alcohol Harms Reduction Game Changer. That specifically target our young males from 18 to 35. Not that I think males drink more than women, but you know, that was the target group. And we do soccer programs with them. And we also use some of our heroes, our legends, you know, like Benny McCarthy. We get them to be with us, and we do the programs. There's only one program, from Friday evenings and Saturday evenings from 9 until 12 or 2 o'clock in the morning to keep them away. And it is difficult. I must tell you, it is difficult. But for that one kid or one young woman or man that says he's going to participate in sport, it is... he's a hero for the community, and the other kids looking up to him. There's also the cycling, like Nicholas Lamini. You know, he's is the best in the world now, and it's coming from Vrygrond.
Yeah.
So it's just fantastic. Yeah.
Now, you said that you go into the communities to ask them what exactly they need in order to cater for their needs and wants. How do you go about doing that, in communities like Kailicha, Nyanga, Langa, Kwalanga? How do you guys go about in finding out the information that they need in order to, divert your resources properly into the communities?
What we do have officials in our communities, but you know what's the beauty of
Yeah.
this is that the community comes to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the time they come, they phone, they just
Really?
message
That's
WhatsApp and say, can we see them? And we just go out. We go out to the communities regularly. And then, I've been in Langa. We just walk in the street and then the people just come out. I've got some people that I know. Zukili is one guy that I know very well. And the NGOs. We work through the NGOs as well. And then
Oh,
we
through the
through
NGOs.
NGOs, yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
most of them come to us.
Yeah.
And then we expand from there on.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an easier way.
Yeah.
We can go out
Yeah.
and we promote our programs, but it's very nice if they can come to you as well.
Yeah.
Say
Oh,
that's what they want.
Definitely. But we will also later on.
Yeah, talk about
we
that.
will share as to how they can also communicate
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That is amazing, actually, to know how to communicate with you, because you find out there's these departments, the departments of sport, the department of art. But as a young boy from the township, I don't even know how to contact.
So about
Let's talk about the lack of infrastructure, which is a huge problem.
Yeah.
What are you? I know you don't work for the city. You are a small department within the city and within the Western Cape province. What are you guys doing alongside with the city to fix the problem of infrastructure in our province?
We've embarked on a whole project. We do a feasible study with the city, but also with our rural local municipalities. It's not only in the city, because I find that in the rural areas there's also a lack of really opportunities. So we give them the
Yeah.
opportunities.
yeah.
And then we work together, and then we've got what we call a MIG funding. This funding that we get from national,
Yeah.
specifically for infrastructure.
Yeah.
So if we do a feasible study, we communicate with them and said, that's where we want some more infrastructure. But I must say, I'm very proud of what the department did so far. But there is still
A lot to do.
still a lot to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I
No,
must admit.
understood,
Yeah, there's still a lot.
And you can only take little by little.
Little by little.
Before we wrap up, I want to quickly ask you briefly. There are kids in trains and so forth and on, who go and perform there, and we know the dangers, of such, going to trains and performing. So what are you guys aware of that, and are you guys helping out, and how are you helping out?
Yeah. Yes, we are aware of that, and if it's very difficult if I don't know. We're aware of that, but if I don't know the child then it's difficult.
Definitely,
But
sure,
they
you wouldn't
can
know.
contact us,
Yes.
and sometimes there's somebody on the train that said, "No, you know what? I know somebody who can help you." Whatever.
Yeah. How do they contact?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
the
They
question.
can contact me. Our website is there, or they contact me myself.
Wow, that's
myself,
great.
I can give my cell phone number.
Yeah.
It's 082
082
824
824
1254.
1254.
So
I'm
if
sure
you
there's
want-
someone behind the
Yeah.
scenes who's currently
Yeah.
writing that
Yeah.
number.
I'm
I
sure
hope
it will be
so.
on Facebook
That's a
as
very
well, yeah.
important number. But I think before we let you go, we have some few questions
Yeah.
from the audience, as I told you earlier on.
Yeah,
we
that's
also
fine.
have an audience in studio who would like to ask you a few questions about the work that you do around the Western Cape. So,
Let's
Sia?
go straight to the audience.
Minister, I've got a quick question. I've read from one of your newsletters that you're not in support of the quota systems which were brought forward by SASA, I think, which is the South African Schools Athletics. Can you please share a comment on that?
Yes, that's true. I'm not in favor of the quota system. I believe that we must give opportunities from grassroots level and have the more mass participation and talent identification, and put our funding more with our communities to bring them from grassroots level up. And because I've spoken to our I want to say our black players. They
Yeah.
don't want to be in a team because they're black or colored. They want to be there because they're there on merit. And the other things that also, transformation is not only about color, it's also about gender and disability. And I think we tend to lose that out of sight.
However, on the same breath, we do not forget that the majority of the people are, people of color.
Yeah.
But I mean, we are obviously accommodating for everyone, right? I think we can squeeze in one more question
One more
from
question,
the audience.
yeah.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good
I
afternoon.
just have one question for you regarding school sports, especially on the Cape Flats.
Yeah.
I know there was a time when school sports was a big thing, and it just disappeared. What are your department or what you guys doing more to bring it back?
What we do now, we do have our program in the afternoons in our schools, and it's also now in the process to bring back school sport. But it is a collaboration with the national department.
Yeah.
But at this moment, our department is having the mod centers after school, and it's also on demand. Which coach do you want? And then we provide that in the school.
I think what I'm getting, Minister, from the audience when it comes to coaches and schools in the township not having facilities, I think what our people are saying up until you as a government bring infrastructure and facilities into grassroots level, then we'll stop the coaches conversation. But up until you do that, then our people are gonna bring that up, because at the moment we're saying you can't get a job, you can't get into a team because you're white, black, or colored. But the matter of fact is there are no facilities to help me get into that, to get into that team professionally. So I think our people just need you guys to get in there, go to the townships and work with the people.
Yeah. I take note, and I
Yeah.
will definitely, I can make a promise that we will definitely look into that and make it happen.
Thank you so much, Minister, for joining us today.
Thank
Yeah, it's been lovely, it's been great, and we trust that you will do, the best that you guys can do. All right, that was Minister Anru Mare. Straight after the break, we'll be speaking to
We'll be speaking to
Nasfas.
Nasfas about
We'll be
Tumani,
asking
all of
about
that.
our chalete. Why didn't they give us our applications? See you after the break.
They say sonke sinesizathu sophila kulomhlaba ngithuthuzele thuthwini uthuthu elithuthwini ngivumba ingcwaba ngimngaka linxebe emphefumulweni inyembezi esidleleni sathi sihleli khalifoni utata udutyulwe esifubeni bekutheni bambone egaraji bamlandele ebusuku uthe xa ifika ezirobhothini tshipa mnqoloba ngembumbulu bayithatha phantsi itransi kutshintshiswa amavili guqulwe ezo number plates gqiba bayityhutyula nezipili ngumphanga wakhathazeka umama ekhalakala usizi waqutyulwa sistroke womela phantsi esishiya simjongile ndathamba xa ndicela izandla nzenzi
And that was 3 months Cup with Izulu Lelam Alila Kenyansha. Now he did that.
There should be a street named after 3 months Cup. Those are legends. No group has ever done it like they did here in Cape Town.
That's true. All right. In studio we have Utepo Kanya from NASFAS. We'll be asking him some hard-hitting questions, so I hope he's prepared.
So heartbroken. I
We were
have
actually-
to ask this question.
Yeah, we were actually saying now
Yeah.
before we came back that I won't get
I'm angry. I want to
angry.
today. I
I won't
introduced
get,
myself
but
as
we'll be
angry.
nice.
I
We'll
want-
be nice. We'll come nicely.
Yeah.
I won't let you take
Yeah,
it.
I
take over.
wanna know. Okay, I'm nice for now. Right? We'll talk after the show, or perhaps I can add some questions here in case someone shares the same sentiment as me. I want to know firstly, how long does it take? And what? Okay, I feel like it takes way too long to get responses from NFSAs. Why is that?
All right. I won't get to your question here. I can probably naba pula bamameleyo. From NSFAS, I think we need to clarify that for 2019 applications that we had received, we had already fully processed all the applications that we had received. In fact, we had received over 546,000 applications for 29 applications. And then from that, we have already approved over 448,000 applications. So we have already processed that. Now at this stage, we are actually working now on an opportunity that is open for students whose applications were unsuccessful to be able to submit to lodge their appeals for funding. And that one, the process here too, it's taking about 7 days for us to be able to respond.
Okay, that's
So
actually, yeah.
so at this stage we have actually finished, we have processed all applications that they are. In fact, what we're actually appealing to is students that who had submitted applications for NSFAS to log in on our website. We have what we call My NSFAS portal, self-serving portal, where students can be able to view the outcome of their applications.
All right. I actually want to touch a bit more on the appeal process and how people can get to appeal if you are rejected. So you're saying they go to the portal and they fill in their details there. Please take me through the process of how abantu can appeal the outcome if ever they're rejected.
So to appeal, let's first establish the process for appeals.
Okay.
So the first part is that appeals is mainly open for people who had applied
Okay.
before our deadline for the 30th of November 2018 last year when we opened for applications. That's the first part. So if you submit your application after that period, then your application will not be considered. That's one. And then two, applications are open for the following categories. So you must have been a student that has lost a funding. So if you've lost a funding, and then in this case, you can be able to appeal. And also in a case whereby there's been a change in income. So remember, with NSFAS, we have a particular threshold. So especially for returning students, their threshold is they have to be within 120,000 for us to consider them. So if there has been a change in income, then we can be able to consider it, and then they can be able to provide us with proof. So those are some of the categories that we cater for. And also in the case whereby a student has had a gap year, then we can be able to consider. And also in a case whereby previously the student had done bad, or the student didn't do well academically, and there might be valid reasons. Might be that they had depression, or someone passed away during that period. So those are other cases that we then may be able to consider for appeals processes. So we have a detailed process that is on our website, indicating also on the form, which is obtainable from our website. So when you go to the website, you'll have a form that the student needs to complete, and then they will then need to attach the supporting document for that particular appeal that they are submitting for. And then for first-time entering students, this is students that we are funding for the first time, then they can be able to submit it directly to NSFAS. Now we've got an email address that we're using, which is appeals review appeals at nesfas.org.za. So that's where they can be able to submit those applications. And then for students who are already at universities, which are your continuing students, then they need to complete the form, then hand it over to the financial aid office at the university or student support office at the TVET colleges.
Okay. And I understand that the closing date for that is tomorrow.
Yes. So the closing date for applications is, not for applications, for
the appeal.
lodging appeals
Yeah.
is actually tomorrow, 8th of March.
Which students are qualified for this? Because I know a lot of people that apply and then don't understand why is it that they were rejected. What would be some of the reasons why a learner doesn't get funding?
All right. So maybe
Especially if, sorry to cut you, especially if NSFAS did fund you for the first year, and then now the second or third year, and it's a problem.
So that it goes back to what we indicated, some of the reasons. So it could be that you would have been funded in the previous year, but you did not do well academically, and therefore you more likely not to receive funding for the following year. And it's those opportunities that are open because there could have been certain special circumstances that made you not to perform well academically. On the other hand, it may be that the academic records that were provided to us by the institution somehow reflected that you did not perform well. So if you from your side, you know that the actual academic records have been updated, and indeed after those have been considered you did well, then you can be able to appeal the decision for your continuous funding being unsuccessful. Remember, if you get funding from NSFAS, it's very critical that you continue to do well academically for us to continue to fund.
And the requirements for doing well academically is getting 50 and above, am I right?
Yes, so you must have
For all your
50
courses.
above for all your courses.
And
but
at least pass half of the course. Maybe if you have 4 courses, you have to pass 2 courses in order to be considered for the following year.
for the following year.
Okay.
So those are some of the requirements that we take into account. So you must have passed the 50
All
plus.
right.
But you also need to ensure that for us to continue to fund you, that we have what we call M+2, which is the actual qualification. But we also provide an additional 2 years that we give you. So you cannot exceed that period. So in cases where you exceed, then you'll also be part of the category of people that needs to submit an appeal as to possibly what will be the reason for us to consider you to fund you more than that required or prescribed period.
We do have an audience today who have burning questions. I think let's jump straight to the audience and hear what they've got to say.
Question now, it regards unemployment. So we do have unemployed graduates, but class applier, some companies, they want the actual certificate, like your diploma, your degree. So in that sense, because it's unemployed, like most of us, we don't need anything to produce. So you don't need.
All right. Zamo understand umbuzo because umbuzo uzisayo ukuthi there's unemployed graduates, and in the case whereby are you addressing the umbuzo in terms of where utyala institution and you are not able to get certificates zakho? I think in that case across the Department of Education and Training, without me being bandithetela on their behalf, I know that they have a particular arrangement that was put in place with the institution to say that institution can be able to provide for abafundi who have graduated with academic results zabo, transcripts zabo, which can be provided to employers for employers to be able to consider them for when they apply for applications. So there is those ilandoga opportunities that, not opportunities, but that platform that has been created to assist the students as applier.
Oh wow! So basically, what I'm understanding is that there is a platform of assistance if people have fee debts, and then and previous disadvantaged people, they are able to go to you said the department.
So the institution itself.
Oh,
so
the institution itself.
yes, even
Okay.
if we are like institution, So institution, when you need the academic records zakho, institution there is arrangement that funeka bakwazi ubanika abafundi.
Alright.
But ndiyaqonda umbuzo onje bona abantu who are well placed to baba uphendule ngabantu from the Department of Higher Education abanokwazi ukucacisa banzi nabantu from the higher education institutions.
Mr. Tsebo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. You have enlightened us in
Yeah,
many
definitely. I'm
aspects
no
about
longer
masters.
angry. I won't. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
At least he still has one more day to appeal.
Yeah. At least by Friday, guys. Please do not forget. Friday is the closing date, right, for the appeals. Please do that. But right now, we're going to an ad break. We'll be back right after this.
uDaniel ufuna ntoni engathetha apha ecofana neefowuni?
You are joined into channel 263 Ekse with Usiano Awonge no Sinalo. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be with you until 5. Ne? So ningayendawo, do remember to contact us on 021 448 0448. If you have any questions, we're talking gender-based violence on Facebook. We are Ekse on Cape Town TV, and on Twitter we are Ekse_live. All right, now hello coaches
The
today.
audience
Yeah.
seems to be sleeping, but yeah, it's like
There's the audience. They want to ask questions. They're burning questions when it comes to gender-based violence. We saw a video that trended on social media of a man hitting a woman, 2 celebrities. Actually, it's a live video. So people are asking questions. What is it about women staying in toxic relationship? And some people were asking if making a live video of yourself being beaten up, whether it's the right way of doing things or not. What is your take on that?
Well, gender-based violence is a very serious issue within South African context. The rates of gender-based violence in South Africa is 5 times the global rate.
Wow.
So we do know that it's an issue in South Africa. And the process of a woman coming forward and actually expressing that kind of violence toward her is a long and tumultuous process, especially because gender-based violence is something that is psychological and emotional at the same time. So when a woman comes out to say that she has been a victim of abuse, what we need to do is believe her. And we should not in any circumstance judge the way in which she comes out to say that this abuse has taken place. So whether or not, there's also a lot of criticism about whether we should believe the video, if it's fake or not. The first approach that you should always take is to believe the victim when she says that she has been a victim of gender-based violence.
But the system is created for us not to believe, because the system of going to court, having to prove that you are a victim of this is way too much. Is there a way that the system can work much better for our women not to be afraid to go to the police station and report this case? Because most people don't report because they're just scared of the system.
So what Sonke Gender Justice is advocating for is a national strategic plan on gender-based violence, which should be costed. So I don't know if you can remember the marches that we had last year, the total shutdown march.
I remember.
And what had resulted in that march was a gender summit on gender-based violence. And there is declarations in that that came from that summit, which we are asking the President Cyril Ramaphosa to sign to cost that. And I don't know if you actually listened to the State of the Nation address in the budget speech. There was no costs allocated for that national strategic plan, which the government had agreed to do. So what we are doing as civil society organizations is asking the president to sign that declaration to put costs behind this national strategic plan, because we do need it. We do recognize that gender-based violence is an issue and it's deeply entrenched within our society and the patriarchy that we face as women.
Khadija, just a quick question before we go to the audience, and I would love your take on this. Okay, great. Not even great. You know, there's a whole household where there is gender-based violence and so forth and on. You know, in practicality, sometimes it's quite hard for people to actually up and go because of the realities of finances. Where are you going to live? You know, if I leave this house, where am I going to go? With maybe Sonke Gender Justice, I beg your pardon. How do you guys help such individuals?
Well, there is a lot of workshops that we do through our community education and mobilization unit, which educates people around gender-based violence and to create sensitivity. So we do understand that we need both men and women in the same room speaking about it to disable all of these toxic gender norms that men especially harbor. So there are organizations that are specialized in dealing with victims of gender-based violence, like Tutuzela centers. If you are a victim of sexual gender-based violence, you go and seek some help from the Tutuzela centers. There is rape crisis, there is power as well that help women in those circumstances. We do understand it's a very difficult situation, and like you've mentioned, a lot of it's economic circumstances that women also find themselves with kids and all of that. But the best thing to do is to offer support to the victim in any way you can. If you are a friend, listen and don't judge or blame. You listen and you try to help.
And you are worthy to actually get out. You do not need to stay.
You don't need to stay.
You are worthy.
But it's about the support system. So a victim will feel more empowered to leave the relationship, like you say, if they have a support system which they can fall back on.
Yeah, I think we should have to cross over to the audience to hear questions that they might have for Khadija. Yeah, I got that right. Any questions, guys?
Just quick 2 questions. The first one, do you believe as an organization that the Department of Women is actually doing enough for gender-based violence? That's the first one. The second one, do you think that the society is expecting too much from our public figures in the sense of when it comes to gender-based violence? And also, because it seems to me like we follow too much of the public figures as compared to stories which are lost.
Okay, I don't think anyone heard your question because apparently your mic was off. Is it on now?
Is it on?
Is it on, everybody? Okay, I think you can ask the question quickly this time.
The first one or the
30
second one?
Yeah.
Okay, the first one, Department of Women, is it doing enough for gender-based violence? Second one, are we expecting too much from our public figures when it comes to gender-based violence? Do you feel that they're getting enough education on such, as their stories are more followed as compared to our localized stories?
So the first question around the Ministry of Women, I do feel that the government in its totality can do more to protect the women. You know, because women make up 41% of the workforce. We are in a greater proportion of the demographic than our male counterparts, and not enough is being done to protect, especially black women's bodies, because we see a lot of femicide cases coming around those areas where women are being brutalized, and the crimes are becoming more and more atrocious. So what we are saying is that we need a national strategic plan to combat this specifically, because in our national frameworks there is no such thing that is gender orientated, right? If you go into the police, you're laying a case of assault, the gender aspect is not considered, because it comes from the fact that we have deeply entrenched patriarchal systems within our societies, and the traditional systems of how men are socialized is also very masculine and very bro-orientated, if you get what I mean. So we need to dismantle those kinds of normalities and educate and mobilize people to actually demand this of our government.
And coming to the second question?
The second question, which is
about
we are paying too much attention
to public figures,
to public figures.
Normal civilians.
Well, I agree with the question. So we do pay a lot of attention to cases where sexual assault or gender-based violence is being perpetuated by celebrities. I don't know if you remember the Jub Jub case.
I remember that, Kelly Kumalo.
Yes, exactly. So these cases are not as publicized. The normal cases that happens on the ground is not publicized enough to the extent where we take notice. I think that we think that celebrities emulate this kind of lifestyle that we aspire to, and so when someone is being beaten, who is a celebrity, it breaks down our idealisms of what a perfect life is. But the reality is that the average woman, like 1 in 3 women in South Africa, is being killed by their intimate partner, and that is a stark reality that is shocking to me, and that's why we are asking for government to actually intervene.
Any other question from the audience?
Yes, good afternoon, Khadija. One question. No, when we talk about gender-based violence, mostly it points to women, as if like men are abusing women a lot. But then, do you guys, we can't run from the fact that even guys, like men, they get abused or they are violated, maybe their rights or something. But do you have like things that you guys do for the guys, like to look up for them, to help them and stuff like that?
Okay, so when you speak about statistics-wise, you can clearly see that it is women who are the victims or the survivors of gender-based violence more predominantly than the cases of men. But
maybe it's because men don't report, because you'll be laughed at when you go to the police station. The police will laugh at you, saying, "How come a man gets beaten by a woman?" Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the problem in there.
It doesn't even have to be that, because for instance, men can also get raped. They do get raped. However, those things are kept underneath the
layers.
Underneath the carpet. So I understand in the sense, and it's definitely true that the majority of the people
are women, definitely
women. But for that small percentage of a child, a boy child, or even a teenager who gets raped, where should they go? How should they go about doing things? Because you go to the police station and they get laughed at.
So reporting of gender-based violence and sexual gender-based violence is an issue overall. So that's why there isn't accurate statistics around gender-based violence in South Africa, right? But Sonke works with both men and boys and girls and women to educate, mobilize and raise awareness around these issues. So in the case of, if you have a friend that is a victim of sexual gender-based violence, what you can do is to listen, you support their decision in whatever action they want to take. If that means going to the police station and lodging a case and actually asking for a female officer to interview you and asking for a friendly loom, there is legislation in place that helps you. So we need to break the silence around gender-based violence in totality, whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, being the victim of that.
I want maybe a woman with a question, because gents have been asking questions left and right.
basically, the guys have asked some of the questions because
Yeah.
I was gonna go and jump into the question whereby he asked what happens in a case of the men. And men are also some men also experience domestic violence, but what is being done about that? Because when they do go and report, they are laughed out there by the police. You understand? So I wanted to delve into that.
Yeah, touching on that, speaking of the police, because the police represents government, they are the one that represents government on the forefront. Is there maybe programs that are there to install knowledge to government officials, to nurses, to police, to traffic cops, to everyone who's part of the government and witnesses this? Is there something programs that are ran to educate them more?
Yes, so I just want to explain to you a story that I did last year around especially sex worker, right? So I did a documentary on a transgender sex worker who was raped, and he had tried to make a case with police, and that's the kind of treatment that he got.
And you know what's sad about, sorry to cut you. What's sad about that is that they will say no, because he's a sex worker, he was supposed to still work. Whereas no, the consent is the most important part
of that. Exactly. So that was one of the issues. So it's marginalized communities like that who are being ostracized by police. And yes, there is programs for police to get sensitized around gender-based violence and how to interview a victim of gender-based violence. But we need to enforce and implement those policies, you see. So it's right like what you said, police is the first term of reference that a victim gets. So they need to get that support that they need. So what we need to do is to actually just speak up about it more and challenge and hold police accountable if you are not getting the correct kind of treatment that you should get.
Now, quickly, I think we still have time. Do we still have time?
Yeah, we still have time for one more question.
Okay, one more question.
The audience is like, yes.
Alright, okay, let me just jump straight to the audience with the question.
Okay, so kind of mentioned it before, but every time it seems like we go back on gender-based violence, why aren't we focusing on violence as a whole? Why does it have to matter if it's man, woman, however you identify? It's violence. It shouldn't matter your gender at all. Whether it's reported or not, whether you're laughed at or not, it's still violence. Focus on that.
May I just ask one question on that? Are we considering the advantage of women versus men? Because there is also that advantage that, you purely being born male, you have that male privilege in some sort of way. Then a woman, if you are born a female, I'm sure already you will be given half of your salary or half of the man's salary. So are we considering that in that question, if I'm hearing you clearly?
I think what she's saying is violence. We shouldn't try fix violence against women by dismissing violence against men. I think that should be the case. When we deal with violence against women, we shouldn't dismiss the other part as well. The other part, the little percentage that exists, it does exist. We can't ignore that. So I think what she's saying is violence is violence.
But that, I can argue, is the same argument as Black Lives Matter. So would you say that all lives matter? Did you understand the kind of conceptualization around that? It's women are perpetually being ostracized and more vulnerable than men. Do you understand? And there is always a gender component to this violence. I'm attacking you, unfortunately. And the excuse is always that you're wearing a short skirt. Exactly.
Yes, silly excuses.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on our yellow couches today. And thank you to the audience as well for being part of the conversation. It has been so much fun.
Very, very fun. I enjoyed the questions from the audience. And if you guys would love to be part of the audience, email us ekse@capetowntv.org and also be part of the audience.
Definitely. Right now, we're going to close off the show. Say thank you to you guys there for being amazing. Thanks to you. Thanks to you guys.
Thank you.
You're great. And thanks to me.
Let's continue the conversation on social media as well as outside of social media. Let's continue to talk about this.
And other than that, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on Cape Town TV. And the repeat, right? It's playing.
7 a.m. Do not forget to also tune in onto our YouTube channel. We are there as well. We are there on YouTube. So do watch us. If you missed the repeat, from 7 a.m. till 8 a.m. We have got to go. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Goodbye.
Next week.